guys, welcome back to Clockwork Noodles. We're here to break down episode number 6 of Vinland Saga season 2. We are halfway through this season, my friends. It's already upon us. That means I have to get my butt into gear and actually do my midway review. I promise I will get it done at some point on Thursday. Maybe. I need to do it. I need to actually break it all down, crown my top 3 OPs, EDs, and current standing of animes and get that out on schedule because it's a tradition around here. We always have a midway review and then at the end of the season, we have a end of season review where we can consider how things have changed. Has anything changed? Is it a possibility that I'm going to feel the same way halfway through the season at the end? Sometimes there's major changes, sometimes there's none. Join me in both if you want to see how I'm feeling so far about the season. The season's been interesting. We seem to be now plagued by a load of delays on animes. Make sure you guys are subscribed. We are 20 away from 666 becoming a cursed channel. I am totally up for us being a cursed channel. So if you can find 20 more people, a little tap on that subscription button and we'll be at 666. Let's get on with it and let's do a bit of a time warpy, timey-wimey type of time skip to the land of the stubble. And I'm very happy with this because I think that they're growing up and I like the fact that they are addressing the fact that they're not shaving. It's good to see them just growing hair slowly. Thorfinn is looking very close now to the Thorfinn in the OP. He just needs a wee bit more facial hair. We get that right at the end when he finally has the goatee. And it is definitely Thorfinn breaking through the ice or breaking through the something at the end of the OP. Vinland Saga has now leveled up. We are now heading towards Goatee Saga, which I'm very excited for. All the way through this episode, I was just so proud of Thorfinn because Thorfinn is such a good boy. It's the way that he greets the douchebag who comes over to have a go at them. He still has a habit of going, Dorma, hello. It's like, regardless of this guy coming over to be a dick, I'm just gonna at least still greet him. I love him. He's so polite. I don't know what's on with Thorfinn this week, but Thorfinn is definitely taking a very polite approach and I'm really enjoying it. He's growing up late and I love it. He's gained a brother. Aina is that brother figure for me, even though he says friends. You're proud of him. You're proud of how he's growing up and I love it. So enjoy Aina's sulky walk. Whenever he gets into a huff, he does the thing where 2-year-old with the legs outstretched and I'm going to really huff around with my arms up in the air. These two together are just really starting to grow some very nice chemistry between them. I'm really enjoying just seeing these two growing up together. Aina is most definitely the driving force. I think someone did say he was older by a few years, so that definitely makes sense. Whether or not Aina had a younger sister, he's definitely taken on that more protective role of Thorfinn, and I really enjoy it. It's how proud he gets when he can see that Thorfinn is learning, and he's proud of him. So many nice little moments of him just smiling in Thorfinn's direction this week. You can see the difference between the two, where Thorfinn sees a vast forest. I see nothing but problems. This is going to take ages, whilst Aina wants to get that corn in the ground as soon as he can, because he's from that farming background. I don't see the problems. I just see we can get some stuff growing, work on this forest bit by bit, which I think could also be a philosophical thing where Thorfinn is overwhelmed. He just sees one big giant problem. He doesn't try to break his problems down, whilst Aina just approaches it very gradually. I feel like he could have picked that up from his mum. He just approaches things and takes it bit by bit and he chips away at it. We do technically get crops in the ground, which is a huge well done to these guys. We are introduced to a new character this week and this is Sverkel, and Sverkel is awesome because we technically saw him episode 3. This is where Snake hides out and you technically see him saying, is there anything to eat? Sverkel goes, no, go get your own food. That's when you actually technically see him. It was just hilarious because they were just there screaming at each other and having this really loud conversation. They've got no energy, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, Sverkel just overhears them and offers them a hand, which I really like. Aina is very loud. The way that he's complaining that Thorfinn has no energy, despite the fact that we are told that neither of them are really eating. Don't blame Thorfinn for having no energy. Aina, I think the problem is that you're just too energetic. I don't understand what you're powered by. Are you still powered by love? This probably has to be my favourite screen grab of the entire episode. Aina is hugging the horse and even the horse looks very, wait, why are you touching me? Or what are you doing? He looks confused. In the background, you've just got Thorfinn watching the two just going, cool. He's always this guy at the background who doesn't really know what to do with himself, and I like that. He'd be that kind of person in a party where he stands by the outer wall, not really knowing what to do, but kind of enjoying the watching and the party and the vibe. But it really is quite the nice conversation where Aina is actually shocked. There could be a land where there is no such thing as farming, because he's grown up with working on the land, being quite connected to the land. Thorfinn has come from people who don't really farm, or that always not really been involved in the farming aspect. It's nice to see this. There's also a moment where it seems like there's a step towards healing going on with Einar. Einar is able to joke that his mum and his sister would be shocked also by what Thorfinn had just said. This to me feels like it's a healing process. He's able to actually talk about them. He doesn't get angry or anything. He's able to smile about it as well, and he smiles that Thorfinn is quite sheltered. And it's a really nice conversation, and I really enjoy seeing the chemistry this week. It's really down to earth episode. We had such a high octane episode last week, Canute coming to power. We still haven't heard about Canute coming to power just yet. News would travel slowly. It doesn't surprise me that it could still be happening at the same time, but we don't actually hear about it. The only king we really hear about this week is King Harold. I think that's the Danish king, unless Harold is the one that replaces him, because there is technically a Harold who comes after Canute who replaces him for a few years. So whether it is this guy or not. Once again, Thorfinn just grabbed him at my heart, doing the polite hello, got me every single time. This is so polite. I love it. He greets everybody regardless, even if they are a bad person or if they're not very nice. Whether it's the fact that he knows he's a slave and he knows he has to greet people, or the fact that he's just generally used to saying hello to people and he's actually being polite. I want to believe that he's just such a good boy that he has to welcome everybody. We do learn that Sverker is Ketil's dad, and I did think it quite interesting. Both of these two really do believe on honest hard work. It doesn't matter who you are, you can work and you can eventually pay yourself back. This belief that Ketil initially has definitely comes from his dad, in the way that his dad has brought him up. They believe in a fair trade, they believe in being honest, they believe in working. The fact that this continues with Sverker, and to the point that he just wants to live out the rest of his days on his farm. Just such a nice episode for bonding. Einar teaching Thorfinn is just the most precious thing I've ever seen, and I'm genuinely happy to see that Thorfinn is so interested in learning about farming, how these inventions actually end up changing everything. He's fascinated. Only a farmer could build, and he's obviously been around machines of war. Whether he's seen trebuchets and things, I don't think he has. I've got two eternity stuck on the brain. Him able to see the difference between a machine for farming and how people rely on it. Ketil must be very rich because he's got loads. You can just really see the two growing. Einar is smiling at Thorfinn, who is starting to learn and who is very interested. And to me, that is a sibling smile. Sure, he could be a friend as well. We left off with these two in a very bad situation. Einar had tried to strangle Thorfinn. We're now in a very different situation where Einar sees Thorfinn as nothing more than a very young person who hasn't really grown up properly, hasn't had the opportunity to grow up properly, and he calls him an overgrown baby. And this is probably true. Mental state for Thorfinn is stunted because of the way that he has been raised, the way that he's been around war after war. There's no parental figure around for him to really teach him anything. And now Einar is taking that position. Such a nice episode, even if not a great deal happens. So much nice storytelling going on. I think I did give a sin out this week on Sugar Apple Fairy Tale for info dumping. And what I call an info dump is where they give you just all the information regardless of whether it makes sense that the characters are given it. There are certain info dumps going on, but it's more the anime is showing us this is now where we're at in the story, this is what's going on. At no point does it feel weird that characters are saying things or they're saying things for the sake of saying things. There is a difference between good info dump and bad info dump. Just because you have to say something, it doesn't mean you can't do it in a very clever way within the anime. It really is those smiles when we see Einar smiling at Thorfinn. Those are just priceless. Vinland Saga and To Eternity I do keep mixing up just because they're both animes of trauma. It's very rare for me to see something good happen in one of these animes and then not expect something bad to happen. I keep expecting something bad to happen. Could potentially be foreshadowing things where we were talking about thieves and how come no one bigger, no armies come onto this land, how come there's no one else invading? And I kept wondering if it was foreshadowing or whether it really was just genuine curiosity when they were asking how come there are no invasions. There was a lot of moments where I keep looking for something to go wrong. Once again, Thorfinn and his one-liners it touched me. I loved it. The good morning when you've got Snake waking up. He's such a polite boy. Just good morning. You've woken up even though it's nighttime. Good morning. I love this. Snake thinking that they were going to sneak into his bed is another great liner as well. Love the banter this week. There's some really nice, clever wordplay going on. Snake being a bit of a woman charmer if he can, because he says he wants to protect the women anyway. Presumes they were going to sneak into his bed. Playboy would kind of say. The line really matches the character, if that makes sense. He's a very cool character. I did say that I really enjoyed his design, and it's nice to see this week a lot of sarcasm going on, and the relationship between him and Spherical is such a nice relationship. It does actually remind me a little bit of Einar and Thorfinn, but there was more the fatherly figure of Sverkel, and I think later on they state that they seem to get on better than Ketil and Sverkel do. Whether it's more just because they butt heads and it's more just them bickering and it's hilariously funny. Sverkel probably would miss him if he wasn't there, and it's a really nice change of pace as well, just seeing people sharing a meal. Regardless of your status, I don't care if you are servants, you can eat. You've worked hard. And this is Sverkel again, believing in honest hard work. He's quite the old-fashioned belief that if you work hard, you can have this. And obviously the new belief with Ketil, and they're not too dissimilar, actually. I think with those two, there's not too much of a dissimilarity, but the two do initially have issues with each other. That the reason why Ketil wants him there is because he believes that his father, you're not capable of it and you've already collapsed, so therefore you should move in with me, even though we don't technically get on. Trying to be a warm heart, and I don't actually sin Ketil for being a softie. He just wants to make sure that his dad isn't going to die on a farm alone, unable to look after himself. However, I do think that Snake could perhaps do a bit more work and help a guy out a little bit. The relationship, I think, with Sverkel is Sverkel believes that this is my land. I have a right to die on it. I've done the hard work on this is where I want to die. I just really enjoy it, and the conversation over the fire is nice as well, because as much as Thorfinn says that he's learning, I'm learning, and I'm really enjoying learning just how come this farm is able to enjoy the peace that we've got, and it's because we're bribing King Harold to not invade, and we are making sure that we have peace on the land. It's interesting to see as well with Sverkel is that he believes that you really shouldn't be able to take on something if you can't protect it. It does feel like this is quite a old worldy view for the time period we're in. To the people of the period, Ketil, this is an outdated view. To me, it pretty makes sense that if you can't afford to look after something, you really shouldn't buy it. Like pet, if you can't afford to look after an animal to its fullest, you really shouldn't have one. Buying peace is just stupid. You really should be able to protect it yourself. Sverkel states that wealth basically equals misfortune, because you start to worry that you're going to lose it. I think that might be a big difference between Ketil and Sverkel, as well as Ketil is really rich, and we even have that line where he says that he's got 10 of these plows, therefore he's very rich. I think that's the difference. I bet with Sverkel, the farm was smaller and he was happy with what he had, his lot in life. And then I think it was probably the younger Ketil coming along, expanding and making it bigger and bigger, and then to the older man, like, this is just stupid, this is too much wealth, we can't protect it, that kind of thing. Fear of losing thing, maybe foreshadowing just a little bit. Perhaps at some point there is going to be an invasion, perhaps that's what ends up freeing everybody, but I also live that at some point Einar and Thorfinn are going to set out and try and find Vinland. It's Vinland Saga for a reason, and at some point they've got to start doing some Vinlanding. Einar really was just thinking what I was thinking. Sverkel and Snake really do feel like a father and son type situation. At least Snake is going to be there to maybe aid if things get really bad. Even though they're bickering, I do think Snake does care for him. The overgrown baby Thorfinn is starting to learn. Einar looking so proud, as he even says, like, I've learned so much. Genuinely am just so happy for Thorfinn right now, because he's finally getting a chance to learn about the world. He can be himself. He can generally show interest in big machines. I don't know whether this comes from Einar being a naturally protective person where he just wants to protect people who are younger. He's finally seen Thorfinn as just a young child who hasn't had an opportunity to grow up properly, and he's not seeing him as a murderer anymore. He's just seeing him as somebody who is unfortunate to have a bad situation in life. At the end of the day, Thorfinn really is just an overgrown baby who needs to learn the world again properly, and with people around him who care. But Goatee Saga is finally here. I am so happy because Thorfinn finally looks like Thors a little bit. I don't remember if Thors had a beard. Might have had a goatee, but the hair at the most. Thorfinn definitely looks more like Thors with his hair up, so he's definitely representing Daddy Thors, and I'm happy about this. Definitely that Einar and Thorfinn brotherly relationship this week was definitely the best part of this episode for me, just seeing them really getting on. I'm really happy because there's the moment where they're just talking about friendship. Einar just throws it out. This is what we are, right? Then when Thorfinn doesn't react, he suddenly looks really shocked. He's like, whoa, we are friends, right? I love this because Einar is just like, he hasn't said it and he doesn't need to say it because he sees Thorfinn as a friend. Thorfinn is shocked. He's taken back by the word friend because I don't think he's ever heard the word friend since maybe when he was like 2, growing up with the kids kind of thing. But even then we saw he was quite awkward with the kids around him and they picked on him for being weak. This is probably his first ever friend. I don't know how old he is, like 17, 18 now. more hairy, better friends. And I am so happy that we are starting to see some steps on that journey to healing, which is what it's all about, because we have had a traumatic season 1. We've got to start healing from it. Our characters have been affected. I think Vinland Saga stands above a lot of different animes is because it takes time to be real. You can't recover from trauma in one day. It takes a lifetime to recover from certain events. So I'm very happy with today's episode. It made me very happy just to see the way that the chemistries are building. We've got some more characters going on. We've had some hints why things are peaceful, perhaps where things could go wrong. We haven't heard about Canute coming to power yet. That would be interesting because Thorfinn knows the name Canute, so what's going to happen if we suddenly hear Canute is now king? I'll be interested to see what Thorfinn's face is going to look like at that moment. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope you had as much interest in this episode as me. I know it's very different. It's not fast paced. There's not a lot of action going on. I do think that people who enjoy these kind of animes, who enjoy the slow storytelling and the world building that goes on and the slower moments, you're the kind of people that I really enjoy talking to, because I also really enjoy this kind of thing. The reason why I want to have Clockwork Danger Noodles eventually establish into a community is because I really do enjoy talking about this kind of thing, and it's always nice to find people who are similar, who also get a buzz from those scenes. And a lot of you guys are the same, and we'll all buzz about the same thing. Or if I make a mistake, you guys in particular are nice. You'll pick me up on something and say that's wrong, and I like that. It's respect. If we ever do get bigger, I really do want a safe space where everyone can feel happy and safe regardless of what they believe in. You don't have to like the same anime as long as we respect each other for that. Thank you so much. I will see you guys again next week. Can't wait to see what happens to our boys. Have a good day, guys. Bye bye.